In this video I'm going to be talking about super swims and giving a general explanation on the trick and how it can be performed. Something to note about this video is that while I'm going to be demonstrating every super swim here as Zora Link, the way preserving speed in the water as both Zora and Human Link works the same. So all of the rules still apply to Human Link, it's just that Zora Link has tools available to manipulate super swims that Human Link does not have. And that's just something to make a note of. Now the first thing that I want to go over here is how Link swims. So when you're in the water and you're holding nothing, as expected, Link doesn't move, he just remains stationary. If I were to start swimming, Link would move, and then if I release to neutral, Link will stop moving. And this is important to keep in mind because obviously when we're working with super swims we want to preserve the speed that we enter the water with. And super swims are typically done using negative amounts of speed. So like for example, if I were to do a jump slash recoil, I would get a high amount of speed backwards and I would enter the water with it. And water is interesting because it's kind of an apparatus for keeping your speed at first. Like when I jump slash into the water, I enter the water with that speed, and then as I remain stationary, I will eventually slow down. Now, in order to prevent Link from slowing down, we need to do something to keep Link from going into this stationary animation. And I'm going to refer to this as keeping Link busy. There are a couple ways to keep Link busy in the water, and I'm going to go over them one by one here. And the first has to do with holding a direction and pressing the Z button. So if I hold forward here, and I press Z, you'll see Link does a pretty unnatural animation where it looks like he's trying to swim forward, and I'm holding forward, but even though I'm doing this, nothing's happening, I'm just staying stationary. This is an animation that can be used to keep Link busy, and I'll demonstrate that here. If I do the same type of jump slash recoil into the water, and hold forward and mash Z, you'll see I kept that speed going backwards for quite a bit of time, up until I hit the top of the water. And so that is an example of how this can be used. And you don't necessarily have to hold forward, but the direction that you hold on the analog stick will influence the direction that you swim backwards. So for example here, I'll experiment with holding a bunch of different directions. And I'm holding upright, and you see I'm kind of swimming in a circle here. So if you were super swimming and you were not going the direction you wanted to go, you could change that direction and swim in a different direction. And that is how the first animation that we'll use when super swimming works. The second one has to do with just analog stick inputs. So you don't need to press target or any other buttons aside from the analog stick to make this one work. If you move the analog stick in a position and then return it to neutral with good timing, you'll notice that Link is remaining stationary and continues to repeat this animation here. And this is an animation that we can use to keep Link busy and stop from losing speed. So an example of this is if I were to jump slash recoil off of this ledge again and just mash forward, you can see that I also kept my super swim speed backwards until I hit the top of the water, just like before. And just like with the other one, the direction I hold on the analog stick here is going to influence it's going to influence the direction that I go. If I could get a recoil. So if I hold left, you can see I spun in a circle there. And if I use right, I'll spin in a circle the other direction. If I hold down, I'll swim away from the camera, etc. So you can use this in order to guide yourself. And an advantage that this form of super swimming has over holding target and mashing forward is that you can see below you. So like if you were doing a long super swim and you needed visual cues on the surface or on the floor of the water here, you'd be able to see that. You also can use this while holding target. Holding target's not a requirement, but it is an option if I wanted to hold target. But I didn't want to mash target, I wanted to hold my camera angle. I could use this method instead of the holding forward and mashing target version. As you can see, you're also able to influence the direction you go without losing your facing angle, which can be useful in certain situations. Now, the third method that I want to go over has to do with Zora Link's rising and sinking animation. So, the big thing about Zora Link is that you can swim at any depth in the water. That's kind of his whole thing. So if I press B, I'm going to start sinking in the water, and if I press A, I'm going to start rising in the water. Now, what happens if I alternate between these two rapidly? As you can see, Link is kind of stuck in another type of animation. And you can use this animation to keep Link busy as well. And I'll demonstrate that here. Now, there isn't any input on the analog stick or on the Z button required to make this work. You can do it simply by just pressing A and B, but I'm going to hold target so that you can actually see what I'm doing here. And as you can see, I managed to keep that speed going, and the advantage of this type of super swim is that I actually can control my depth and not reach the surface of the water, which is something I haven't talked about just yet. As you know, whenever you're swimming with Link, when you reach the surface of the water, Link plays an animation where, it's like he's coming out and taking a breath. This is something that happens as both human and Zora Link. And whenever this happens, it kills your super swim, because this animation takes priority. But with A and B super swims, you don't ever have to reach the surface, which means you can keep your super swim going indefinitely. And on top of that, you actually can even cancel the surfacing animation using this type of super swim. Because if you're going to swim towards the surface and you use B and A, using this animation actually cancels the other animation from happening. So I can actually take my super swim, and even if I hit the surface of the water, as long as I input that B and A to cancel the animation, I can keep my super swim going forever, and I can even swap between the super swims. So now I'm doing the targeted super swim, and if I get tired of doing this, I can do the analog stick mashing super swim, and if I get tired of this, I can go back to using the A and B super swim. And so as you can see, you can, mix and mash and combo all of these to suit your needs. There's plenty of different types of super swims in the game that require different types of swimming, different depths. Some of them have tunnels, some of them, basically wherever you have water, you have the potential to maybe do a super swim there. And so adding and changing between all of these different versions of super swimming can ultimately help you reach your goal. So that's a general breakdown on how this trick works, and all of the mechanics that are in it in regards to super swimming in a speedrunning context. If you have any questions about these or any other types of super swims, feel free to ask me. Thanks for watching.